This is Mr. Frank at Parkway Central Middle School, and we are working on our bench project. At this point in our project, we should have a bench leg, bench top, bench side. These do not look like benches yet. So let's start putting them together. So to do that, we are going to need to open up what's called an assembly file. We're going to do the standard.iam. Open that up. I am going to place, from the Place tab up here, I'm going to place our bench top, or actually our bench leg in there right now. So we're going to need a few of these. Zoom out. I'm going to actually need 4. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 of these in there. And I'm going to right click, click OK. Now these are going to be assembled together. But before I do that, I'm going to take one of these, and it could be maybe bench number 1. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to ground it. So this one will not move. Everything else will, but this will not. So this is helpful in our assembly process. So to do this, we're going to constrain our bench legs together. So I'm using that constrain button up there. I'm going to click on this flat surface here, and I'm going to click on rotate it around. I'm using the shift and scroll button, that one right there, and we get those locked together. I'll apply it. So they still kind of move around, but this is what we want. I'm next going to constrain this edge right there, rotate it around to that edge right there and apply. I can then use this flush feature right here on the top, flush that, with that, and apply. And if you need to rewind the video and watch those steps again, please do so. This is a part that gets tricky if this is your first time assembling objects, which it probably is. So if I zoom out now, these legs do not move, which is good. That's what we wanted. So I'm going to do that same thing to these two. Now there are different ways we can do this that are easier, some are harder. I just want to show you a few different ways to assemble things right there. So we use the mate constraint and we use the flush constraint, which are all useful. But there's not one way to do this. So I'm going to use the mate constraint here. Take that edge, put it to that edge, apply, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, take that edge, and that edge, apply, and these are locked together. That's all I needed to do. I added an extra step there because I wanted to show you. If I wanted to delete these constraints, I can go over to my assembly, my model browser over here, and I can delete a constraint out of there. I'm right-clicking to do that, and they come apart. This is important if we mess up or if something's not looking right. Sometimes it's easier to just go over here to our model browser, delete the constraints we have, and try to start over. So I'm going to do that again. This edge, that edge, apply it. And this time I'm going to use a flush, just showing you a different tool. A flush, this side, apply it, and that did the same thing. Oh, it didn't do the same thing. We also need to flush, if we did that, this side, and that did the same thing. So again, there's many ways to assemble these together, and I just wanted to show you that. And now that these are assembled together, we can add a few more pieces in. So the pieces we're going to add are going to be the bench tops, not another leg like I did there. So we're going to go to the bench top. We're going to add 2 of them. Now they're sideways, but that's okay for right now. I'm going to constrain them, and I'm going to click on this part right here. Line that up over here. Perfect. Apply that, and then I'm going to use the edges. That works there. And I think I'm going to also flush. Make sure that's flush right there. And again, there's multiple ways to do that. I can also use And this does not have to be absolute perfect, but free rotate to kind of rotate things around. And I know it's only rotating one right now, but if I move it, it rotated all of them. So I'm going to take this, constrain this bench top that we're using to the top right there. So that's what I wanted. So it doesn't look like it's attached, but it is attached to the same plane that this is right here. And again, this helps out a lot. If you did not do that first step by pinning or grounding this first leg, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for you. So we've got this done, and that's exactly what we want. Our next step will be to flush. Again, we're using this flush right here. This side with this side, but we are going to use an offset. This is going to be 3.5. Click right there, and that is what I want. So you might, if it goes the other way, you might have to put negative 3.5, but this is exactly what I want. So if I now flush this side and hit apply, I've got my bench starting to come together. And we're going to do the same thing with this leg right here. So I'm going to mate this with this. Perfect. But even though it's not in the right place yet, that's okay. I'm going to apply it, and then I'm going to flush this 3.5 offset. That right there. Apply it, and then I can flush again. Here, and here, and apply. And now it's starting to look like a bench. The last part I'm going to add in is going to be our sides. So I add 1, 2 of those in, because I only need 2 of them. And we're going to put those in here. I'm going to go ahead and apply a constraint here. I'm going to take this edge right there and put it to this edge right there. That doesn't look like it did the right thing, but it actually did. And how I'm going to do this is, oh, there's the bell. Let's go back to this side now. Apply that constraint over here. Oh. So now we have an error. So what we're going to do, what's happening here is that this piece is too big to fit in the spot we need it. Now this is really useful and really helpful that I show you how to do this. Now if we need to edit this, we don't need to go remake everything. I can right click over here and I can open that piece and it'll bring me back to here. I can actually go to my original sketch. I can right click extrusion 1, go to edit sketch, and now I've got my original length. This 30 does not work. What will work is going to be, I believe it is 27 and a half. So I do that, I edit it, and things should end up looking like that. Now I also will need to edit these because that's not right. So I'm going to change that, make that a little bit smaller right there, but that works. We'll finish that. So that's the shape we're going to get now. Now when I go back to my assembly, these have changed. Our part files talk with our assembly file. So now I should be, if I had my measurements right, should be able to constrain these now. Apply that. Apply that. Now also going to lock that in the top. Apply that. Right there. So I'll do the same thing to the other side. I'm going a little faster now because I'm expecting you guys to be able to know what buttons I'm clicking on. apply. Apply, and I'm using all the edges. Now it's hard to see that edge, so I just go over till it highlights white. There we go. And now our bench is done. So we've got our side view, our back of the bench, our right side view of the bench, our top of the bench. So all of this is looking good. Now next video is going to be learning how to put this bench in some different engineering views and open up a drawing file. So hopefully you get to this part. If you are having troubles, again, this model browser is super important. Maybe you have to delete some constraints, and that's okay. Maybe you have to rewind this video. That's okay. That's how we're going to learn. If we make mistakes, let's learn from those mistakes. If you get to this point, move on to bench video number 3.